Hello and welcome to the NABSW Sankofa podcast. I'm your host, Christy Love. The purpose of this podcast is to preserve the history and tell the stories of the National Association of Black Social Workers and the Leonard Dunstan African-Centered Neo-Neem Circle, better known as the Academy of African-Centered Social Work. This podcast is one of the ways we will continue to grow our legacy of advocacy in liberating the Black community. We will highlight our founders, sages, pioneers, and active members of NABSW. Listen in as we capture our ancestors' rich history, hear from our living legends and individuals upholding the mission of NABSW. Thank you for listening. On today's episode, I am excited to have my cohort member and friend, my sister, Tiffany Thornhill, who was born and raised in Portland, Oregon, a graduate of Arizona State, where she received her bachelor's in social work. She went on to receive her MSW and Master's of Public Administration, also from Arizona State University. She is currently a senior program coordinator and faculty associate at Arizona State University. She is the founding president of ABSW Arizona Valley Metro chapter. She's a mother of 5, and like I said, a cohort in which I am a part of for the Academy. Tiffany, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Christy. Thank you. I'm doing well. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm excited. You're my second guest, and I'm excited about that. So let's get right into it. And one of the questions that I'm going to ask each guest is, for you, what does it mean to be African-centered?
To me, I'm still but I'm still on the journey of understanding what it means to be African-centered. But to me, in this moment, being African-centered means thinking about my community. It means it means Sankofa, right? The past, the present, and the future. And to be African-centered, we need to know our history. And as Africans in America, we don't really know our history. And so it's a journey. It's a long journey to get to the truth of who we are, and kind of remove what the Eurocentric programming has done for us here in this nation. So to me, it means going back, getting our history, finding out who we are, empowering ourselves through that knowledge, and understanding that our ancestors are still here with us, that they are pushing us forward, understanding what they went through and what they had to endure for us to be here today. And then understanding what is today, what happens today, who are we as African people today in 2023. There's a lot that we have to unlearn as Africans in America in 2023. And so I think right now, that's where we're at, that's where I'm at, is in the present space, and thinking towards the future, being in the cohort, being a part of this cohort. What can we do to make sure that our people are living out the truth of who they are going forward, instead of being programmed under this system that's been oppressing us for so long.
Awesome.
So it's really community. Good. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so it's community, it's history, it's self-awareness, it's empowerment, it's resistance, and it's ancestral energy, all in there for me.
That is good. I know I missed some of them, but you wrote down, you said community, self-awareness, resistance, empowerment. What were the other ones? Because that was good. I want the people to they want to write it down. And it's okay if you don't remember, but let's go with community, self-awareness, being resistant, and being empowered. I like what you said about the journey. Like you said, we started this cohort in June, and I know that you're probably figuring out, like, wow, I didn't really know a lot about myself. I'm still learning. It really is a journey, and it's going to take a just 365, like all the time, really learning who you are and really unlearning a lot of things, what you said. So I do like that. So NABSW, Tiffany, we know that you're the founder of the Arizona chapter, and we'll really get into that. But can you tell us, when did you first learn about the National Association of Black Social Workers, NABSW?
I first learned about the NABSW during my bachelor's my undergraduate journey when I was pursuing my bachelor's degree in social work. At Arizona State University, it is a historically PWI institution, so predominantly white institution. And so I didn't really see anybody who looked like me. I didn't really have any professors at that time who looked like me. And I was longing for community and longing for safety and a space where I felt welcome and that I felt seen and that I could talk about the things that I was going through. And so unfortunately, there wasn't a chapter here in Arizona during that time. I reached out to the NABSW and there wasn't really a chapter here. So I continued on through my journey, went into my master's degree program, and then the George Floyd incident happened. And when George Floyd was murdered, the national office reached out, and there were a lot of people here in Arizona that had reached out to the national office and was seeking a chapter. And so they pulled us kind of all together and were like, okay, here are all these people. Do you want to start a chapter? And I didn't come into it wanting to be the president or the founding president of the chapter. I just knew that I wanted something here for us and for me and a community for us here. And so that's what we did. We went about 6 months of recruitment, building out the chapter, and then we officially affiliated in October of 2021.
That's awesome. That's I'm glad, one, that while you were an undergrad that you did reach out, right? Because so you knew about it, you heard about it, and you wanted to know more. And then I appreciate and respect the fact that in 2020, due to the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, that they did reach back out, to you. And so congratulations, one, on being the president, right, of the Arizona chapter. I know that y'all are doing great things and still growing. But NABSW has done a lot of work throughout the community over the years. For you, what are some of the things that your chapter is doing to help liberate the Black community? What do you want to do? So what have y'all done, and what are some of your plans as a chapter in the community?
Well, shortly after we affiliated, or when we started that process, it was about 6 to 9 months where we were kind of recruiting members before we actually affiliated. And during that process, I found out that there used to be a chapter here in Arizona. And it was here, I think it started somewhere around 20 years ago here, and then it kind of phased out. So I don't know what happened with the chapter or the history of the chapter or pretty much anything about it, except for I don't think that the way that it ended was the most, I'm gonna be gentle with my words. I'm not sure what happened, but I do know that we are trying to change the face of that. So it's we've had a lot of people who have asked us about, what's different this time, what's new this time, what looks different. So it's a lot of kind of just making ourselves visible to the community and letting them know that although there was something here before, the history of that, it's not connected to us, and that we're a new organization who is here to first and foremost support our helping professionals, our social workers, our folks who are in social services. We have several members who are not social workers, but they are in the field of social services or education. So first and foremost, that's what we want to be, is a safe space for all Black people who are working in the field. Nubians come in all shades, and in our chapter, we have all shades, and everybody feels safe and welcome in that space. So that's the biggest thing. Second, we want to make ourselves visible in the community. We want to be in the spaces where policies are being written. We want to speak up when there are things that our community is being impacted by or affected by. We also want to partner with other grassroots agencies here in the Valley that are doing the work already. How can we lift them up? How can we help push their mission forward? We're doing all of that, again, as volunteers, right? Because all of us, our executive team has full-time jobs too, and side jobs and things like that as well. So we have a lot of dreams and hopes and aspirations. It's the time commitment that we need more of. We need more bodies, we need more help, and we need more people to kind of help us
Mhm.
push this mission forward. But first, we want to be a safe space for our professionals. And
Right.
second, we want to be a voice for the community.
That is good. Definitely a safe space is very important for us, for the Black community, to have additional safe spaces where we can go. And then especially as Black social workers. And like you said, and just for the audience, to be a member of NABSW, you do not have to be a social worker. However, you do have to be of African descent. And you do have to want to liberate our community. Like, we're here to help build our community, grow our community, heal our community. And I know you talked about being visible in the community so people can know, and maybe like the old chapter again, members can unlearn what from the past and come back and see the new faces and the new things that you're doing. I think it's important that your chapter is wanting to focus on policy and really talk about that, and then also connecting with other grassroots organizations. That is definitely what we want to do as an organization, is to create change, make change, make statements. So yeah, so can we talk a little bit about the academy? So you're in the academy, that is a part of the National Association of Black Social Workers. You do have to be a member of NABSW to be in the academy, which we are trying to change the language of that. And so we'll just say for now the Neo-Onim Circle, right? So you knew about NABSW for a couple of years. Your chapter was started in 2021, and here you are in the circle. So tell me, why did you choose now, and why were you excited? Like, why did you want to become a cohort member of the Neo-Onim Circle?
1 second. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. I would say that because I was educated in a PWI, now Arizona State is moving towards an MSI. But in the time when I was a student, it was a PWI, and I didn't hear about any interventions or any best practices or evidence-based practices that were necessary or helpful for our community. And so I am a direct practice social worker, but I have a macro lens. And I really, really think that we need culturally appropriate interventions to utilize for our folks who are needing services, whether it's microservices, mezzo services, or even macro services. We need an African-centered lens to think about how we're going to fix this sick society that we live in. People always want to talk about mental illness and physical illness. Well, we live in a society that has a societal illness, and we need an Indigenous approach to how to change that. And African-centered approaches are Indigenous. This is an Indigenous approach. We created this country. The labor of our ancestors built this country up. And so therefore, we need something that is culturally appropriate to us to sustain what our ancestors built. It's not sustainable right now because there's a Eurocentric model or a Eurocentric model that's running things, and it's an oppressive model that's been oppressing us for a long time. So that is why I wanted to join this circle, is so that I could hear and be in the room with folks who were doing the work, who were using those interventions, who had those best practices, who were creating them as well. And I also wanted to be closer to my community and build more community amongst NABSW members.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We definitely, again, need a safe space, need a space to learn and to do it in our work and also in our families, like every day, the African-centered way, and just learning it. We have to do this every day. And so for the audience, we have individual projects, right? We have to turn it in. It's due very soon. Africana womanism, right? I feel like it's a term, Tiffany, that a lot of people don't use, don't know about, right? So it's part of your project. You got to tell us about it. What does it mean? What are you going to do and talk about, please, for me and for folks that are going to listen? talk about your individual project for this Neo-Anim Circle as it concerns Africana womanism, Africana studies, all of that.
So just to backtrack to the last question just a second, I also joined this circle because I wanted to know how to lead a chapter. Because
That's
I was,
good.
yeah,
Leadership skills. Yeah.
because I was leading a chapter without much knowledge of how to do it. And I figured that if I came into the space, I would learn how to do that more effectively. So Africana womanism, to me, I am in no ways an expert on it. I leave that to Miss Clenora Hudson Weems, who began the thought process with this Africana womanism. However, but my understanding of it is that we need to uplift the women. We need liberation as women. We need equality and equity as women, but we also need equality and equity for our men too. And we need a system that's culturally appropriate for us. And so, not to bash feminism or down talk to it, but to me, Africana womanism is a direct contradiction to feminism. It's sometimes been told womanism is to feminism like apples is to something. I don't know. Miss Alice Walker said something that feminism and womanism are the same. And to me, it's not, because feminism was historically created by white women, European women. It was created first in the 1700s in the UK, and then picked up again by European women here in the States during slavery, when they wanted liberation and they wanted equality with the men. However, they did not want equality for Black folks. They wanted slaves too. They wanted to own slaves just as the white men wanted to own slaves, or did own slaves. So these women were fighting for equality and liberation in a corrupt system. And so to me, I'm all about energy. Energy to me never dies, it only transfers. So if we continue to fight for a movement that was never for us in the beginning, we're never going to receive the liberation that we need. One. For two, feminism to me is men hating, it's men bashing, it forgets our men, it leaves them behind. And I'm not about that. You know, I know that we have an issue, and that the men in this world right now in 2023 have a lot of misogyny, have a lot of different things that are very oppressive to women and hurtful and traumatic. But they need help too, and they need to heal too. And so, yes, we need equality for women. The women need to be liberated back to who we used to be in the continent, right? If we think about history. And so womanism, also Africana womanism, talks about the history of things. It reminds us of who we are as queens, who we were before colonization, how we battled and fought. It just lifts us up to remind us who we were before colonization came in and decided who we should be at that time. So that's my understanding of it, is that we need, one, a new system, right? We don't need to be liberated into the system that is already here. Two, we don't want something that has the energy of slavery on it, that has the energy of racism on it, that has the energy of white supremacy on it. We don't want that for our people. We want something that doesn't have that energy on it, something that is healing, that is appropriate, that brings the equity that we need so we can find that equal space. It's also culturally sensitive and culturally appropriate. The people who have the solutions to the problem are the people who are most close to the problem. Right. So that means we know what we need to heal. And so we should use those theories, tools, interventions, and skills to heal us culturally the way we need to heal as a cultural community. I definitely have a lot more research to do on that. I definitely want to talk to Miss Clenora and see if I can, sit at her feet for a while, because I definitely know there's a lot more to it. But that's my current understanding of it, is that lift us all up together and don't leave our men behind, and ditch the system that's what it is right now.
If y'all don't hear, Tiffany is all about turning that table over. Like she is breaking down the walls. I just want folks to know that it really is a joy to talk to you and just hear how you break things down. And it's always a lesson when I'm talking to you, and I hope people feel that same energy that you really are. You're a researcher, you're a reader, like you like to really gain information, retain it, and be able to share. That helps you grow. Like it helps your self-awareness. Your five girls, like they're looking at you, they're definitely watching you. And so with this, as it relates back to the Nia Onim circle, what does your individual project look like though? And again, because it's the NABSW Sankofa podcast, we're trying to get people to really understand who we are, National Association of Black Social Workers, and for this circle, for this academy. So what does that project look like? Even if it's different, can you talk a little bit more about your individual project?
Yeah, so my individual project has a few components to it. So excuse me, initially I just wanted to create a presentation on Africana womanism.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke at a summit for African American women this past January, and we talked about Africana womanism. And so originally the goal was to just create that presentation and present at the summit, and then write about the experience. And during the presentation, I did a survey, kind of. It was like an exploratory type deal where we did a word cloud. And in the beginning of the presentation, before we talked about anything, before we did any kind of education, the participants participated in a word cloud, and they just put words in the word cloud on what the first one was: what does feminism mean to you? And then what does Africana womanism mean to you? And that was at the beginning of the presentation. And then at the end of the presentation or the workshop, they did that again. And the goal was to see what changed. And I haven't been able to fully write up the results yet, but I did, review them, and they did change. Views changed. In the beginning, several people didn't even respond to the question about Africana womanism because they didn't know what it was. Right. At the end, they all did. And so it went from this, it just changed. It really changed. Their perception changed. And a lot of them could see how feminism might not be what's best for, or in my opinion, it's not what's best, but for others, right, they're moving towards that thought change, the change in their thought process about it. But the goal is to say feminism isn't the best theory to use for Black women, for African American women, for African women. I don't care for any of us from the diaspora. It's not what's best for us to use. So that was the original goal. Going through that, and through kind of suggestions and through encouragement from mentors, I will be publishing the paper that I'm writing. So
yay, we're excited about that. We got publishers and authors in the room in NABSW. So thank you for that. Tiffany, so let's switch a little bit and talk more about like Black social work, right? Black social workers in America and in the world. What advice, especially for those that are a little younger than us, or just going through school at whatever age in life, getting their degrees in social work, what advice do you have for current and future Black social workers who want to practice African-centered social work? And just kind of encouragement in general for Black social workers, but specifically who want to practice African-centered social work?
Go home.
There you go.
Touch the continent.
Yep.
That's my biggest piece of advice, because I did that as a graduate student. And when I was pursuing my master's in social work, I went to Ghana, and it opened my eyes. I felt like I was at home. And going there and seeing African society as, right there as it is different. There's no African-centered in Africa. That term is not a term in Africa, because you are just African. Yeah. So that's my advice, is touch the continent. Go back home, because there's no way that you can truly understand what it means to be African without going there and seeing the space. You can be in theory all you want, You can learn all you want. You can listen to all you want. You can read all you want. But until you experience it yourself, it will just be a theory for you.
Gotcha. I'm going to go soon.
Even if it's a group, well, even if it's a group trip, right? So that's what I would say too, is like, we need more travel agents. We need more of us who are building these experiences and creating these experiences for us to get us to the continent. It's not as hard as we think that it is to get over there. And it's not huts, teepees, and wild animals either. We are a very civilized folks. We have societies, we have cities, and even the villages are, civilized. So there's so much over there, and it's not as hard to get there as folks would think. And it's not as dangerous as folks think either.
Gotcha. Okay. We got to go back and learn about who we are, where we come from, to be able to be African-centered social workers. So I don't know if you saw it in the group chat. So we have a group chat audience. I put in there, it was a link, it was a Instagram story, and I think it's a man from Ghana, and he's talking about the word tribe. Do you have any just quick thoughts about that? Like, tribe is, he said the term is racist, and we use it so much. Where's your tribe? Who's your circle? All those things. From just me asking, and just some of your knowledge, and just reading and just studying about all things African centered and Black social workers. What do you think about the term tribe?
Again, who created it? So is it Eurocentric? Is it a colonial term? If it is, then yeah, it is racist, because if that's not what we called ourselves before the colonizers came, then what did we call ourselves? Well, we called ourselves family and community and relations and relatives. So I don't know where the term originated from. However, if it is a colonial term, then yeah, we should be mindful of the terms that we use. I believe that, again, energy is a huge thing, and the words that we use have energy behind them. And so if we're going to continue to use oppressive language, how are we going to liberate ourselves? One of my roles that I do at Arizona State is I support a group of students who formerly called themselves the BIPOC Student Network. However, we are now rejecting the term people of color because it is negative. It's pathologized, right? Who said that we're people of color? We don't have to be identified as that. And we don't have to identify by the terms that, other folks have decided for us. I was told the term people of color came from light-skinned folks who, back in the day, and who were like highfalutin or something like that. I mean, that's just rumor. I haven't been able to confirm that, but so what, right? Like, stop calling us things we don't want to be called, because in the end, the energy is what's carrying us through. So be careful, we have to know where the word originated from. And if we need to change our language, we need to collectively do that.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why we're in consideration of changing the name of the academy. Again, is going back to unlearning, being in a safe space, being liberated, knowing who you are, all of those things. One question that I want to know, just right now, where you are in your life, just kind of going back to your childhood, early adulthood, all of that. What would you say? You can give me one or two, the most important lessons you've learned in life so far.
Well, I'm going to steal this term from somebody I seen on Instagram. Okay. Anyway, she just wrote a book, a children's book for her daughters, and it's called Nubians Come in All Shades. And I think, to answer your question, that I think is one of the most profound understandings that I've ever been able to come to, because as you can see, I'm light-skinned and I've had to battle colorism on both sides of the line my entire life. But I'm at a space now where I am bringing my own folding chair if you won't let me in. I don't care. I belong here. I'm welcome here. This is my space too. And I'm going to make sure that I don't be a burden in the space, right? I don't want to be a nuisance, but I definitely want to be here and heal and bring folks with me because, like I said, we come in all shades and we all need to feel safe and welcome in these spaces because regardless of whatever, we're all Black folks and that's what they see us as and that's what they'll always see us as. And so we need to be in community together so that we can stand up against them all together.
Yes, Tiffany, come on in. And this space is for you. It is a safe space. I hope that you do feel welcome overall in NABSW, in life, in the circle, all of those things. We all have to break some curses, right? Some things that we've learned through childhood. So thank you for sharing that. And then what would you say?
Can I add one thing to that?
Oh, absolutely.
So I will say that I definitely feel welcome. I feel valued and I feel like I belong so much so that, a part of, and we didn't talk about this in the beginning, but one door that has opened for me since being a part of this circle is I am now the co-chair to the National Relations Committee for the National Association of Black Social Workers. So I know that I'm valuable. I know that I'm, supposed to be here. Otherwise that door would not have opened for me. So there's so much that this circle has done to heal and liberate me to a space where I know I was meant to be.
Right. And thank you for bringing that up. I definitely thought about it. It was on my thing to say. So you shared it. That's right. You got to let folks know that you're, doing things on the national level and it's important and it's needed. And so congratulations on that position. I really thank you for that. And I know just with time, I do have a few more questions for you and just, through our conversation. So even with the lessons that you've learned, and the book was called Nubians Come in All Shades. So
it's a children's book.
You said what?
It's a children's book. It's so cute.
It is a children's book. It is good for our children. We definitely, I'm gonna have to look into that. What would you say are your proudest life accomplishments so far?
My 5 daughters.
I knew you was gonna say that.
They are so amazing. They're so much better than I ever was. And being able to give them a life that they deserve. It wasn't easy in the early part of their lives. And before we moved to Arizona, when we lived in Oregon, we definitely had some struggles and challenges. But I think moving to Arizona was the first step of that and providing them a life that they could thrive in and one that set a strong foundation for them. So I am fully believe in their abilities and their talents. And I know that they're going to do great things in this world. So that's, I think, my biggest one is being a mom.
Yes. Being a mom of 5 beautiful daughters. I love it. I love it. Tiffany, for NABSW, so where we've been, what we're doing now. What are your thoughts? Like, where do you want to see NABSW go? And then we can end, we'll end on some positive words. This has all been positive, but yeah, how would you like to see NABSW move forward? Which I believe right now, and they've been doing a lot of great things. Our current president, Madam President Melissa Haley, is doing awesome things, making our organization more known. People, when it first started, I think a lot of people in organizations knew about us, and then there was a time I don't think we were doing as much as saying as much. But so for you, and even in the space that you're in on the national level, where would you like to see NABSW going moving forward?
There's so much potential with this space in this body. I think that the first thing I would like to see is the NABSW move to an accredited space where this circle is an accredited certificate that has momentum behind it, and folks can really, they have something they can say, I am now certified in African-centered social work, through the NABSW. I think that will propel the NABSW into a more front-facing space to where it will be more visible.
Right.
There should be no reason that the NABSW is not as visible as the NASW at this time, because we've been around for so long. But again, we don't have equity, we don't have equality. And so they're definitely going to prop up the things that make the most sense to
Right.
to society. So in order for us to make the most sense, we need to have some accreditation behind us, or something that gives us credibility and clout, for lack of a better word. And that's what we need. We need something that makes us an official body, that pushes out official folks and gives them professional credentials.
I like that. And I agree with you. I know they're working on it. And so hopefully in the near future, there will be the space for the Academy of African-Centered Social Work, or the Neil O'Neill Circle. Miss Tiffany, how do you want to be remembered?
Well, that one came out of left field.
It did.
Geez. I say first and foremost, I want to be known as, or remembered as, somebody called me a compassionate healer.
Oh, I like
yeah.
that, Tiffany.
I kind of have a struggle with the word healer, because a true healer teaches folks how to heal themselves. I can't heal nobody, but I can teach you some tools to help you heal yourself.
Right.
So I want to be remembered as an educator, as a nurturer, as a compassionate healer, as a humanitarian, and a billionaire philanthropist. I'm speaking that into existence.
Yes. That's right. That's right. I like that.
I don't know what this light is giving me, a triple chin or a quadruple chin. Y'all on Spotify can't see this. Thank goodness.
Right. It's okay. You my second guest. We working all things out, even on your end. So Tiffany Thornhill is a compassionate healer, and that's how she wants to be remembered. And also an awesome mother to 5 beautiful girls, right? Daughters, women, who will become strong Black women. And so thank you for that, Tiffany. I appreciate that. A compassionate healer, Tiffany. I really like that for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just saw that on Monday. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. So I'm excited for you, for all the things that you're doing. And just as we wrap up, thank you again, Tiffany, for joining me today. I appreciate your time. We appreciate your time. And again, even with your young self, we honor you for your wisdom and your courage to be Black in America. The NABSW Sankofa podcast believes the past guides how we live our lives today and how to plan for our future. There's wisdom in learning from the past, which ensures a strong future. We believe that there must be movement and new learning as time passes. As this forward march proceeds, the knowledge of the past must never be forgotten. Ashe. And I am going to always leave with my guests.
Ashe.
Yes, we normally in meetings and gatherings, we do 7 Harambes. Before this podcast, we're going to do 1 Harambe together. So we're going to count down and we're going to do 1 Harambe together. All right, Tiffany?
We're going to hold it out.
We're going to hold it out. Yeah. The 7th one is the loudest, so the people in the street and in the yards can hear us. So 3, 2, 1.
Harambe!
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.